Hello, Mr. Hine, and I'm back. In this video, we're learning a new skill. So we just did transformations, and now we're going to talk about how to multiply binomials. Okay. Now, where does that come from? Because this is so new to you. So multiplying binomials by, again, means 2. So what happens is we're multiplying 2 things, and it just gets a little bit abstract. So we're going to use something called area models, which I think most of you have seen before, but if not, I'll explain it. And we're going to spend 2 days on this. So if you don't get it today, do your best, look at the mistakes you make, and then we'll look at it again the next day. And the directions for these are for each problem below. Use the area model to write the areas as sum. Now, there's 2 words we use. We use area as a product and area as a sum. Now, if we're looking at a rectangle, so this will be a little side note. Say we look at a rectangle and we split it into 4 parts, like this. And we'll have a 3 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. And these represent the length. So say this is like 3 inches, 2 inches, 3 inches, and 2 inches. And I want to know what's the area of this shape. So remember, the area is length times width. So what you could do is you could find the area of this small rectangle by doing 3 times 3, which is 9. And then what's the length? And then of this rectangle, that would be 4 times. Now what's this length? Make sure you look at the outside. That's 4 times 3, which is 12. And then over here, we would have the length and width of this, which is 2 times 3, which is 6. And over here, which is 2 times 4, which is 8. So then you could say that the area is 9 plus 12 plus 6 plus 8, which if you simplified all that, that's 21 plus 14, that's 35 inches squared. And that's one way we can do it. The second way we can do this, the second way, is if we were looking at this rectangle, instead of adding up all the insides, we could just look at the big width and the big length, rather than break it up in the smaller parts. So what's the width of this entire rectangle is just 5, because 2 plus 3 is 5. What's the length of all this? Well, that's just 7. And notice 5 times 7 is 35 too. You did 5 times 7. And those are 2 different ways to get the area. Now, when we look at the big one right here, that's called areas of product. So areas of product is looking at the outside, and it's the big width times the big length, which is what you see here. Areas of sum is you're adding the inside areas. And what we can do is, notice how we got both answers are the same thing. So we use this to tackle these questions that get a little bit more abstract. So in this problem here, this is called a binomial because there's 2 things being multiplied. The first, x plus 2, times the second, x plus 3. There's 2 things, that's why it's called a binomial. Now what we can do is we can see this first thing as a width, and we can see the second thing as a length. And that's what's labeled over here in this triangle. X plus 2, well, I know they kind of interchanged it, but width, length on a rectangle doesn't really matter. So we'll call this the width, and this whole thing is the length. And they broke it off where x, whatever number that is, represents that length, 2 represents that length, x represents that length, and 3 represents that length. So that's what areas of product is. Now, how do we write this as area sum? How do you get the inside areas? Well, we just have to write the areas of all the inside. So this first one is it's going to be, what's the length and width of this rectangle in the top left? Well, it's x times x. And x times x is x squared. Careful, it is not 2x. 2x is not the same thing as x squared, right? With numbers, 2 times 3 is not the same thing as 3 squared, since that's 9. Okay. So that's x squared. Now we come to this rectangle. What's the length and width of this? Well, we know that the width is 2. What's the length? Right? If you're not sure, remember it's always on the outside. You can always write those numbers all the way around if you want to help you see it. So what's the length and width of this? Well, that's 2 times x. What's 2 times x? 2x. Then we come down here. What's the length and width of this? Well, that's 2 times 3, or if I wrote on the outside, you could just use the numbers next to it. 2 times 3, which is 6. And what's the area of this? Well, that would be 3 times x, which is 3x. So the areas of sum, if we add all those up, is x squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6. And there you go. These two things, this is the same as this because they're both area. If you wanted to simplify it technically, you could write this as x squared plus 5x plus 6 because these two are like terms. They both just have an x. But either answer is correct. Okay. Let's look at one more, and then hopefully you can use that to help you. I'm going to zoom out just a tad. All right, let's look at number 2. So we have areas of product. There's the width. There's the length. What's the areas of sum? All right, so that's getting all the inside. Just areas of sum is the inside areas added together. That's what the word sum means. Okay. So we look at the first one here. What's 2x times x? So that would be, and the number in front of x is like a 1. So with these, you just multiply the numbers. 2 times 1, which is 2. And then what's x times x going to make? X squared. Over here, we have 2x times negative 2, which is negative 4x. And again, if you need to, write these numbers on the outsides to help you see it. You don't need to, but until you get a hang of it, maybe that's what you want to do. This rectangle down here is going to be 5 times 1x, which is 5x. And this rectangle right here will be 5 times negative 2, which is negative 10. Add all those up. You have 2x squared minus 4x plus 5x minus 10. And you're done. That's correct. You don't need to go farther. But if you wanted to, you could simplify it. And since these are both x's, we could combine these and have a final answer of 2x squared. What's negative 4 plus 5? Maybe switch around. What's 5 minus 4? That's just 1x minus 10. And there you go. So that's this lesson right here, is multiplying binomials when there's two things. Okay? Give it your best attempt. I hope this helps. Use those area models to help you. All right? Now, I'm going to add something extra at the end. If you wanted to check your answer, this is extra. Because in math, what we haven't done in virtual learning labs, go over how you can check your answers. Because a lot of times, you don't need me as a teacher to tell you right or wrong. You can determine yourself. It's kind of the beauty of math. Is plug a number in for x. So plug a number into x and see if they both equal. Do they equal? So say I pick an easy number. Say I pick x equals 0. If I plug 0 in, what's going to happen? If I plug 0 in, you get 0 minus 2, so you get negative 2. If you plug 0 in, 2 times 0 is 0. That goes away, so you're just left with 5. And we're asking, does that equal? If I plug in 0, all of those are going to go away, and I'm just going to be left with negative 10. Because remember, if you plug in a 0, 0 times anything is 0. Well, what's negative 2 times 5? Negative 10. And so I know I did it right. That's like an easy way to check, did you do it correct or not? And you don't have to pick 0. You could pick any number. It should all work the same. All right? Hope that helps. Good luck.